Hello and welcome to Play PKN, the weekly video bulletin of the top news stories on PKN Packaging News, Australia's media hub for the packaging industry. I'm PKN's publisher Lindy Hewson, and this week's episode is brought to you by Filton Packaging, your trusted Australian flexible packaging manufacturer delivering quartz technology for sharper detail, smoother solids and gravure level print quality. We start with our lead story this week, which is a candid message from the Australian Packaging Covenant Organisation CEO Chris Foley, who told members that Australia's national packaging targets were not achieved, that's no surprise, and that reform of the system settings underpinning packaging policy is needed to deliver better outcomes. In a direct address to members and to the wider industry, Foley pointed to APCO's joint report with the Australian Council of Recycling, which was called Securing Australia's Plastics Recycling Future, which he said has helped spark urgent conversations across government and the value chain. The report argues that Australia cannot simply try harder to improve packaging outcomes without changing the structure of the system. Foley said industry feedback has consistently called for clarity, certainty and equity in packaging regulation, with clear rules and consistent expectations needed to support investment and measurable progress. Turning to the food and grocery sector, a new report from the Australian Food and Grocery Council suggests the industry is growing on paper, but warns that rising costs and investment gaps are undermining competitiveness. The report, Towards 2030, a food and grocery snapshot, says the sector's 5-year growth rate appears close to the level needed to meet its 2030 target, but when adjusted for inflation, the underlying growth rate drops to 3.9%. The AFGC says this gap highlights the pressures facing Australia's largest manufacturing sector, which is also Australia's largest packaging end user. Higher costs across ingredients, packaging, energy and freight were identified as the most significant trend since 2020, with revenue rising faster than profits and margins tightening as manufacturers struggle to pass on costs to consumers. For packaging stakeholders, the report calls for national alignment on circular economy settings, including consistent standards for packaging design, curbside collection and recycling infrastructure. Next, a familiar name in flexible packaging is returning to the entrepreneurial stage. Industry veteran and well-known industry figure Joe Foster is launching a new venture, Foster Packaging, after more than 40 years in the sector. Foster previously founded Foster International Packaging in South Africa and more recently served as CEO of Close the Loop Group. He says the new venture reflects a return to the fundamentals that first drove his career in packaging. The Foster Packaging business will focus on flexible packaging sourcing and advisory services, connecting brand owners with international manufacturing partners, while also supporting local production, mock-ups and short-run digital packaging. In other people news, the Coca-Cola company has appointed Nemelin Perumal as Senior Director of Packaging for Asia Pacific region. He will lead packaging strategy across APAC, focusing on innovation, sustainability initiatives and strengthening packaging capability across the company's regional portfolio. Then in some product news, Visy has introduced a paper-based alternative to plastic bubble wrap, launching its locally made paper bubble cushioning product. The curbside recyclable paper wrap is manufactured at Visy's Reservoir plant in Melbourne using paper produced at the company's Tumut Mill in New South Wales. A life cycle analysis comparing 1 square metre of paper bubble with plastic bubble wrap found the paper version generates 34% lower carbon emissions and uses significantly less energy and water across its life cycle. And still on the subject of paper, Queensland is trialling paper bottles for wines and spirits at Suncorp Stadium during the 2025-26 concert season, including shows by Lady Gaga, AC/DC and Ed Sheeran. The initiative will see drinks supplied in frugal bottles by the company Paper Bottle, which are made from 94% recycled paper with a food-grade liner. The bottles are about 5 times lighter than glass, helping reduce transport emissions while improving safety in high-density venues. Well, that's all we have time for today. Don't forget, Women in Packaging Awards is open for entries. For more on these and other stories, head over to packagingnews.com.au. And thank you, as ever, for watching.